The chair umpire asked for quiet over and over again. A second-round match, a Wednesday night in Toronto. 10,000 people packed into a sold-out center court, a wall of Philippine flags moving through the stands like water, and a crowd so loud that the officials couldn't get them to settle long enough to play a point. This was not a final. This was not a Grand Slam. This was round 2, and the player they came for was seeded 25th. Here is the part nobody is telling you. Those tickets were gone in 30 minutes. From the moment the schedule was announced, 30 minutes. The tournament director, a man who has run one of the biggest events in tennis for years, said he has never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 create that kind of effect. Ever. Now rewind exactly 12 months. August 2025, same tournament, same city. Eala was ranked 65th in the world. She played her first-round match. She lost. She went home. No sold-out stadium, no flags, no waiting list. And in the entire history of professional tennis, going back decades, the Philippines had never produced a single WTA champion. A country of 115 million people, and the trophy case was completely empty. So how does that happen? How does a nation with no tennis tradition, no professional tour, no pipeline, no precedent walk into a stadium in Canada and take it over? How does a 21-year-old who lost in the first round last year come back and sell out 10,000 seats faster than most people can order dinner? Because that noise in Toronto was not about one match. It was not even really about tennis. Something has been building for years, quietly, painfully, in places most people never saw, and it broke the surface in the last 7 days. If you want to understand what those 10,000 people were actually cheering for, stay with me. And if you're new here, subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because what happens over the next 3 weeks is going to be worth watching in real time. To understand Toronto, you have to understand what Eala gave up to get there. She was born on the 23rd of May 2005 in Quezon City. If you grew up in the Philippines, you know exactly what the sports hierarchy looks like. Basketball is a religion. Boxing is a national inheritance, volleyball owns the schools, and tennis sits somewhere far down the list. In a country with no professional tour, no development pipeline, no domestic circuit worth the name, and above all, no precedent. 115 million people and not a single WTA champion in history to point at and say that is possible for us. She was 13 when she got on a plane to Mallorca alone, 7,000 miles from home, 6 time zones from her own bed. Moving to an island in the Mediterranean where she didn't speak the language, to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy and chase a career her country had never produced. Most kids that age are worried about who they sit with at lunch, and this wasn't a family that misunderstood the cost. Her mother was a competitive swimmer, a Southeast Asian Games bronze medalist. Her father is a business executive. Her older brother played 4 seasons of college tennis at Penn State. This was a household that had already run the experiment. They knew where the ceiling usually sits for a Filipino athlete. They knew how many talented kids from that country get close and then stop because the money runs out, or the system was never there, or the world simply stops paying attention. They sent her anyway. Now notice something, because this is the part most tennis coverage completely misses. There are roughly 10 million Filipinos living outside the Philippines right now. Nurses in Chicago, engineers in Dubai, seafarers on ships in every ocean, caregivers in Toronto, families who packed a suitcase at 19, at 22, at 25, and got on a plane to a country where nobody knew their name so that someone back home could have a better year. When those people watch a 13-year-old girl fly alone to Spain to chase something her country had never done, they are not watching a sports story. They are watching a version of their own life with a tennis racket in it. The homesickness is the same. The video calls at strange hours are the same. The weight of carrying an entire family's expectations across an ocean, that is the same too. That is why the flags come out. That is why the stands fill up. It was never really about forehands. Drop the name of your city in the comments right now. There is a version of this story in almost every one of them, and I want to see how far this thing actually reaches. For years, that sacrifice looked like it might not be enough. Talent was never the question. She beat top 10 players, she made headlines. She became famous in her country before she had won anything that counted. And that turned into its own kind of trap, because fame without trophies has a name in professional sport, and it is not a kind one. The pattern was impossible to ignore. January, Melbourne, she won the first set 6-0 against Alicia Parks and lost the match. In tennis, when a professional wins a set to love, the match ends in her favor the overwhelming majority of the time. She won 12 straight games and then lost 15 of the last 21. An entire country had stayed up past midnight to watch her, and she went home in the first round. March, Indian Wells, Linda Noskova, 6-2, 6-0, a demolition. she didn't win a single game in the second set against a peer on a hard court at one of the biggest events on the calendar. And the deeper you dug into the numbers, the uglier it got. Against Czech opponents across her whole career, her record stood at 1 win and 13 losses, 1-13. Here's what most people got wrong about those losses, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say in this video. Everyone spent 3 years describing Eala as a player who lacked consistency, talented but streaky, great for a set then fades. That diagnosis was wrong. It was never consistency, it was closing. Look at the pattern honestly. The collapse never came at the start, it came after she got in front. The problem was never finding her level. The problem was what happened in her mind once the finish line became visible. Think of it like a runner who leads a race for 800 meters and gets caught on the last turn. You wouldn't say that runner lacks speed. What she doesn't have yet is the ability to run while knowing she's about to win. Those are completely different skills, and only one of them shows up in a highlight reel. If that reframe just changed how you see her career, drop a like on this video right now. It helps more people find this story, and a story this size deserves the biggest possible audience. So what actually changed? June, Wimbledon Center Court. Defending champion across the net, she had never been past the second round of a Grand Slam in her life. Then she got through Zarazua, then Maya Joint, and suddenly she was standing on the court she had described as her dream, playing Iga Swiatek in the third round. The first set would not end, they held serve into a tiebreak, and the tiebreak would not end either. Set point saved, set point saved. Back and forth past 7 points, past 8, past 9, 11 points to 9. In a tiebreak, the first player to 7 wins unless it goes to deuce, and this one stretched to 11-9. That is a score that only happens when neither player will break. And it went to the one who was supposed to be overwhelmed. Second set, 6-2. Final score, 7-6, 6-2. The defending Wimbledon champion, out. Eala became the first player from the Philippines to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam, on the biggest court in the sport, with the whole world watching. But here is what actually mattered. She had beaten champions before. Beating great players was never the missing ingredient. What changed on that grass court was not her forehand. She took a lead, felt the whole thing tightening around her at 5-2 in the tiebreak and did not let go. Then she came out in the second set and won it 6-2. She did not survive the lead, she extended it. That was the moment. Not the upset, the finish. What came next was almost absurd. Washington. She beat Olympic gold medalist Zheng Qinwen in round 1, then defending champion Leylah Fernandez. Then second seed Svitolina, 6-3, 6-4, the exact same score she had beaten her in Berlin weeks earlier. Then Naomi Osaka in the semifinal, then the final. Jessica Pegula, world number 3, top seed. Pegula won the first set 6-4, then the rain came. Play suspended overnight. Eala is set down, sitting alone in a hotel room with the biggest match of her life half lost and 115 million people waiting for a trophy that had never existed. That was the exact situation that used to break her. She came back Monday and won 6-4, 6-0. 6 straight games in the deciding set of her first career final against the world number 3. First WTA Tour title in Philippine history. First Southeast Asian player ever to win a WTA 500 event. That is not a player who lacked consistency. That is a player who learned to close tested under the worst possible conditions and passed. Then she flew to Toronto. 2 days between cities. The tournament announced her Wednesday night match, center court against Alicia Parks, the same Alicia Parks who had beaten her in Melbourne in January, sold out in 30 minutes. 10,000 seats for a second round match. She won 6-1, 4-6, 6-2, broke Parks twice in the opening set, dropped the second when her level dipped, then reset, broke to start the third, and closed by winning the last 4 games in a row, 6 matches won in a row across 2 countries. The first Filipino player, male or female, to ever win a main draw match at that tournament, and when it ended, she turned to the crowd and asked them in Tagalog to wave their flags so she could see them. She said she was eternally grateful that every single week she sees them supporting her, that every week she witnesses how much Filipinos love their own. Then she got emotional, mahal ko kayong lahat, I love you all. Here is the sentence I have not heard a single broadcaster say out loud. That crowd is not a byproduct of her rise. It is an accelerant. Selling out in 30 minutes forces schedulers to put her in the night session on center court, in the primetime window every single week. That is not a courtesy. That is business. Which means a 21-year-old ranked 20th in the world is now playing almost every match in the exact conditions that normally only the top 5 ever experience. Full stadium, cameras everywhere, nowhere to hide, a crowd loud enough that the umpire has to intervene. Most players spend 5 or 6 years working up to that environment gradually. Eala got dropped into it before she had won her first title. And her one real weakness, not talent closing, handling the moment when the win comes into view and the pressure lands. She is being force-fed that exact pressure at maximum volume every single match by her own fans. The crowd is not just cheering for her, the crowd is training her. There are 10 million Filipinos living outside the Philippines right now. Every city they're in is a stadium waiting to be activated. Nobody had ever activated them. Eala didn't build that audience, she unlocked it. And no marketing budget on earth can buy what she just did, because you cannot manufacture 10 million people who already feel like they know you. The US Open is 3 weeks away. Arthur Ashe Stadium, New York, one of the largest Filipino communities in North America, a player who has just learned how to finish. If 10,000 people showed up in Toronto for a second-round match on a Wednesday night, what exactly is going to happen in New York? Nobody knows the answer yet, but we are going to find out inside of a month. Subscribe to this channel right now and turn on notifications. We are covering every match, every crowd, every scoreline, all the way through New York. And tell me in the comments, where were you watching from? Not just the country, the city. Toronto, Jersey City, Daly City, Dubai, Manila, wherever you were sitting when this started. Let's see how far this thing actually reaches.